Keep politics out of anime. God, I wish. I mean, man, it seems like nowadays everybody is talking about politics in anime, and it is making me so mad. Don't they know that Gundam is just about cool robots and kids being allowed to play Call of Duty in real life? It's all so simple, but these coastal elitist content creators, influencers, yuck, are inserting their own lib, woke, and gay, and trans for all worldviews into my anime. Can't anime YouTube essays just be fair, unbiased, and based? Again, anime is only entertainment. Just cartoons. It doesn't mean anything, so stop inserting your personal politics into something clearly apolitical, like Code Geass, for example. Now, Lelouch is based. That dramatization is a look into an alternate universe some people live in. I mean, what anime creators are actually talking about politics? Don't people know that it's like 99% waifus and power fantasies out here? It's what gets the kids, and the kids make you money. So why are people so mad? I mean, I feel like more than anything, the political messaging in anime is deliberately ignored so as not to upset people. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things people made up so they can be more angry at stuff. And yeah, I mean, not all anime is political. You know, there's things like Bananya. I think Bananya doesn't really have much to say. But that's the thing. The fact that it's almost impossible to think of an anime with no political message begs the question, what the fuck are these chuds talking about? Why are they so upset? What do they want anime to be like? And what master anime do they think is so apolitical and perfect? How come their fifis are hurt? Well, today I want to sit down and figure it all out in the most fair and unbiased and even based way possible. I promise. No snark. I am, after all, just another YouTuber who knows nothing about anything. We'll do this together. Come on. Hey, you there. Don't skip the ad. Hey, you there. Don't skip the ad. What's up, guys? Sponsorship Mike here. Talk about Factor. We're going to talk about Factor because now is the best time to get involved. We've been talking about them all year, but it's getting to be that time where, you're looking at doing a lot of cooking. Last thing you want to do when you're cooking is cook more. See, Factor delivers fresh, never frozen meals that are ready in just 2 minutes straight to your door, and they've doubled their menu now to over 80 rotating weekly options. You're getting 3 times more chef-crafted meals than ever before with new Mediterranean and Asian dishes, plus premium proteins like salmon, shrimp, and beef fillet, all at no extra cost. My favorite is obviously the filet mignon. I mean, any variation of it, as you can see me eating here, is good. It's filet mignon. How can you go wrong? Factor has also added the option to customize meals, so if you love chicken and hate pork chops, you can just swap it for free. There's tons of different meal plans to fit exactly what you're looking for: high protein, calorie smart, vegan, you name it. We've been working with Factor this whole year, and I love getting my box because I know meals are going to be easy that week. You can take the stress off your mind too if you head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Bonsai Pop FB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for an entire year. That is code Bonsai Pop FB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for a year. You cannot get a better deal in this economy. Thanks so much, Factor, for sponsoring us again, and thank to you for the consideration. Now let's get back to the video. Welcome to 2025, the most unpolitical year ever. We did it. Politics are dumb, so stop talking about it. It's dumb. You're dumb. What do you know about politics? Nothing. So shut up. You may have heard on the internet, unless you have a real dickhead in your life that talks to you like that in person. And if that's the case, I say you should have more respect for yourself and remove them from your existence. They're rude and wrong. Hopefully. Anyway, people get really riled up when it comes to anime, which is silly because it's anime. There's maybe possibly more important things going on. I don't know. I exist only in your viewing device. Where do you exist? Maybe it's a hug box where you have the misconception that fans of anime are cool, open-minded people, because some are, but not all. Not all. I, of course, know this firsthand because I not only talk about anime to hundreds of thousands of people a month, but they can and do say anything they want to me. You won't see all of it because the really bad stuff gets filtered out thanks to our keyword blocker. You know, we use it to make sure you don't have to read slurs when you're trying to talk about how much you like the most recent season of Don. I know. I'm personally killing free speech because I am a hypocritical authoritarian who hates the First Amendment. What can I say? But you see, it is my job to watch cartoons, to think about them and then write about those thoughts. Break it down, if you will. Find patterns and themes, character motivations, context, subtleties. It's called analysis, but you know that. You do. But maybe not that other guy. You see, analysis is important because taking things at face value is dangerous. For instance, I look you in the eyes and say, don't worry, you're totally safe with me. Which sounds nice, but I've got a gun to your head and I'm clearly on lots and lots of drugs and my hands are shaky. I can't control my hands. If you were to take what I said at face value, you would mistakenly feel very safe. But if you were to analyze the situation, you'd realize that you were in terrible, terrible danger. See, analysis is important. Vital even. Now, one can argue that analyzing anime isn't that important, and they'd pretty much be right. But it's not about what you're analyzing. It's that you are analyzing, because analysis is a muscle. In order to use it well, you gotta work it out regularly, which means not hearing something and screaming out the first thing that comes to your head on the internet. That's called being reactionary, and generally leads to you having to delete your Twitter every time you apply for a new job. So I mean, if you watch anime all slack-jawed and drooly, it'd make sense not to think the vast majority of them have something to say. You just looked at the pretty pictures and or big boobies and or violence and left going, that was cool. And I get it. I've been blackout drunk before, but having that mentality while sober 24/7 is actually pretty impressive. Good on you. But again, not super healthy unless it's healthy now. It's hard to say. I'm going to have to consult the brainworm. But imagine someone said to you, we're going to get rid of all the illegals. At face value, that sounds great, because illegal means bad, and getting rid of bad things means that it can only good happen. And anyone can be illegal, so it's definitely not racist either. Win-win. But if you watched Fullmetal Alchemist, for instance, you saw what happens when one nation tries to get rid of an outgroup. In that story, you met Ishvalans and formed an emotional bond with their plight, which is called empathy. But you see, the Ishvalans were something called a stand-in. It's a literary technique used to elicit, say it with me, critical thinking, which is fancy boy talk for basic analysis. You see, when you witness the violence and horror the nationalist imperialist military government brought down on the Ishvalans for simply trying to exist, it's supposed to teach a lesson. And the lesson is, that's bad. You shouldn't do it. And you shouldn't sit back when your government does it or cheer on the people who do it in your name with your tax dollars. But feeling that way in real life requires empathy. It requires you to universally see humans as humans, but it's 2025. Remember, politics are over. We beat politics. Everything is good and cool and based. So shut up. But you know, maybe that's all a little too complicated, even though it's coming from a shonen, which is arguably the most basic and casual of anime genres. I mean, what even is a genocide? Sounds like leftist propaganda. And what even is propaganda? Sounds like leftist words. And I hate leftist words, I'm told. So let's simplify then, because thinking is for AI. Instead of highbrow elitist anime like Fullmetal Alchemist, let's talk about the working man's anime. We love the working man in fair, unbiased land. Dragon Ball. You've heard of Dragon Ball, right? It's kind of the most popular anime of all time, barring maybe One Piece, and we will get to One Piece. But come on, who hasn't watched a little Dragon Ball before? Remember Emperor Pilaf? I remember. Well, let's think about Emperor Pilaf, the original villain of the series. He was a small little guy, an angry guy, and a bald guy. But despite that hairline, this small angry guy thought he deserved things because he was alive. But not like, you know, healthcare or access to affordable housing or transportation. No, Pilaf wanted to rule the entire world. Because he's a dick, you see. You're not supposed to cheer for him. He is the bad guy. He's the bad guy because he's selfish and deluded and power hungry. He doesn't care about other people, just himself. He can't even get his schemes to work because he is incompetent. Those aren't generally considered good traits for somebody who wants to rule the world. His plan is also to cheat his way to the top by collecting all the Dragon Balls and just wishing to be a god king. He wants to be worshipped and have all the power. He's a bad politician. So without saying it, because, you know, you're not supposed to treat your audience like they're stupid, Akira Toriyama created a megalomaniacal authoritarian dictator with the personality of a weasel to emphasize the general traits and personalities of said megalomaniacal authoritarian dictators. Children got that. Children, with their little brains and lack of wisdom, they know that Emperor Pilaf is bad. So, I guess Dragon Ball was political? And the message was that Arthurian dictators are bad and should get Kamehameha'd? Now I hear what you're saying. Lib take, biased and unfair. You said you were going to be snarkless and based. Michael, you sound like some kind of anti-fascist terrorist. And you know what? Fair enough. That's just one character. You can't base a long-running series' entire message off of one character. So, let's talk about Frieza, the most important and long-running bad guy in Dragon Ball. He's a space emperor who got his position through birthright, and nowadays we call that nepotism, but semantics. Frieza is a military dictator, meaning anything he says goes, or else. That policy is enforced by his military and special operative police force, the Frieza Force. He's an imperialist, which means he doesn't just rule over his own land, but goes out and illegally seizes land from other nations, in this case, entire planets. He does this by inflicting terror with his military might. He then uses the threat of annihilation, or total genocide, to enslave the native populations of these seized planets he doesn't totally destroy and sell for his capitalist gains. So basically, he's a megamaniacal authoritarian military dictator who kills anyone he disagrees with and makes his money using slaves and selling land he stole from his slaves. The total subservience to his empire and rule makes him a fascist, which is, I know, a buzzword.
Second runner Ron DeSantis of being fascist, of course.
Of liberal fascism.
They're both fascist.
Fascism, I mean, this is textbook fascism.
Fascism.
That's media fascism.
President Trump as a fascist.
The F word. No, not that one. Fascism.
Certain people, fascists, get upset at the word fascist, or don't know what it means, which also makes them upset. They get upset when they're confused. So I'll make it simple. Fascism is an explicitly far-right political system because it's predicated on militaristic nationalism or racial identity, in this case, the Frieza Empire, and ultimate loyalty to said empire enforced by the military. Fascism is the rejection of democracy and suppression of any opposition to the power structure. It's why Frieza kills people all the time, and why it's cool that he has slaves and wipes out entire peoples and cultures and will be emperor forever. Now, interestingly enough, our hero Goku is apolitical because he's an idiot. However, he always finds himself struggling against megalomaniacal authoritarian military dictators because despite being a big old dummy, he knows basic right from wrong. He's a hero, you see. Heroes, whether flawed or not, generally end up doing the selfless thing and triumphing in stories because doing the right thing is a more powerful motivator than doing the selfish thing. Goku is protecting the galaxy. The Ginyu Force, for example, are only protecting themselves. There's less at stake for them, and they lose to pure desperation. When Goku loses a friend in the struggle against Frieza, he is given a first-hand look at the experience trillions of people across the universe suffered under Frieza, and he's able to overcome his limits and go Super Saiyan.
I am mighty, and you are not. Learn what happens when you mess with the most powerful being in the universe! You fool!
So yeah, I think Toriyama was making a point that evil far-right politicians need to get Kamehameha'd. But you knew that. I mean, children get it, guys. Children. Little stupid children, they get that. So you must too, right? But come on. That's just two examples from insanely popular anime franchises. It's not like, I don't know, My Hero Academia was about class discrimination, government regulation, the youth bearing the weight of their predecessors' mistakes, and vigilante justice, or Demon Slayer is an anti-authoritarian piece which deals with rapid modernization and an increasingly nationalist post-war government cover-up of a non-state secret police force, or, I don't know, if Hunter x Hunter deeply explored the philosophical concepts of genocide with the Chimera Ant arc. It's almost like artists tend to be woke and gay and trans for all, you know, all that scary stuff you heard from your favorite Manosphere influencer or Fox News host or dirtbag alcoholic divorced uncle. It's almost like if you liked and understood Fullmetal Alchemist, you'd have to acknowledge that Israel is doing a genocide, because, well, the Ishvalan and Palestinian experience is basically one-to-one, and that would be really hard. Scary even, because it'd mean you were wrong. A lot. Maybe publicly, and that you hurt people who already are targeted by the powerful and corrupt people you or someone you love probably voted for. That Maybe your pastor is, in fact, not based and is biased and unfair, and you were misled to further a political and economic agenda designed to funnel your money away from you and keep you in servitude until you die on the job. That your school may have failed you at best, or at worst deliberately did not teach you how to think critically so you wouldn't. Because when you don't think critically, when you don't analyze or know basic history or have basic reading comprehension skills, it's really easy to feed you bullshit. It's easy to prey on your fears, your fear of crime, your fear of your own impotence, your fear of progress, because change, you see, is scary.
I was born and raised into the Mormon church, heavily indoctrinated family.
I was raised Catholic. I opposed abortion and gay marriage.
Everything was filtered through my religion.
I wanted America to be a white nation.
I hated everybody. I judged everybody. I was racist.
I had already been consuming content like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, and Comrade Poole.
So hateful.
There was this one meme I really remember about like wooden doors at Auschwitz. What? So the wooden doors meme is Holocaust denial.
I had always believed that homosexuality was a sin. That groupthink, that othering hit me like a ton of bricks. And I stood up and I told them, I said, I'm leaving. I'm not getting a drink. I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm leaving the Mormon church, and I have never been back.
Wood, is not airtight. This doesn't make any sense. And therefore these gas chambers must not have actually been gas chambers.
As a white supremacist, and this is church doctrine that Black skin was a curse from God. Leaving the Mormon religion took me exactly 2 weeks. My marriage would end. My whole entire life would collapse.
Because this was my lowest point.
My life before was very privileged. I was living in $1 million homes. Suddenly, my life collapsing made me see the other side.
My aunt, she asked me, where did you read about this? And when I kept digging, I found someone who showed me how absolutely wrong I was. I realized everything I had basically ruined my entire life over was just a lie.
Sleeping in my car, and then I would no longer have that car. I would no longer have anything. And we were so happy to just have that soup, like that's all we had. My friend group became this beautiful melting pot. So I started to have all of these diverse friends and read diverse thoughts, and my brain was being flooded with stuff that it had never even considered before. Learning to let go of judgment and empathize with other people in a way that I really never had before.
In the end, I ended up tearing down basically every single one of my beliefs and building up my entire worldview from scratch.
A large part of my journey towards radicalization was uncritically accepting misinformation.
Rather than looking at that as them, I was learning to connect with the stories of humans. What if I was any of these people in this story who were going through this, rather than that was them, that wasn't me.
The illegals are bad, you see, because they bring all the drugs, which are bad and also illegal.
It can only good happen
if there are no illegals, because that means no drugs. And they broke the law, which is illegal, so they should be punished, which is just and fair and based. But what if, that just wasn't true, and your life just sucks because you and everyone around you were brought up to eat the shit that's fed to you with a big smile on your face? What if the illegals were just people with feelings like you, and hopes and dreams, and families like you, who work hard like you and do the jobs you think you're too good for? What if illegal just meant they didn't have a piece of paper? What if the only reason they didn't have that piece of paper was because it was deliberately unattainable, but they had to flee where they came from because risking getting put in a concentration camp is a better alternative to assured death? That'd mean they probably shouldn't be put in concentration camps by a bunch of fat, bald, incompetent white dudes who wear masks because they're giant racist pussies. That'd be weird. So let's talk about One Piece. Recently, the Trash Taste podcast had Hassan Piker on the show. He's a divisive political figure. Some people think he's a far-left psycho. Some people think he just has some basic common sense. Since I am unbiased, fair, and/or based, I'll say no comment. Now, the Trash Taste guys, right? Sea-Dog, Joey, the Anime Man, and Gigak are kind of the forerunners of what people call Anitube, which is kind of funny, because outside of the occasional Gigak video, they mostly ignore anime and just fuck around while making millions of dollars a year.
All of New York's best pizzas. I've asked a bunch of New Yorkers that I know.
It's getting crowded, bro. Can you believe me that this is actually a business day?
The American dream. Except none of them are American or live in America. Joey's Australian and Connor and Gigak are from the UK. But just like our politics, our boner for capitalism is global. Now let me tell you a little secret. Unlike me, who is fair and unbiased, and in fact super based, when a content creator takes a political stance, they instantly lose a portion of their audience, which makes sense, right? If you say something like Benjamin Netanyahu is a nationalist, ethnocentric war criminal guilty of conducting a genocide, some people are going to get mad and never watch one of your videos again, even though the man is specifically stoking anti-Semitic hate by conflating the government of a nation to all Jews. All of a sudden, people are going to call you anti-Semitic. It's why so many creators tend to just publicly ignore anything controversial. It's business. They're here to make money. Don't tell you how much they make because you probably wouldn't support their Patreons anymore. They say things you like to hear because it makes you feel good and makes you come back so they can make more money, etc., etc. But the Trash Taste Boys made a mistake because simply having someone like Hassan Piker on the show was political. And if that wasn't bad enough, they started talking about One Piece. Now, One Piece is more than just an anime. It's like a thing all on its own. There are people who don't watch anime, but they watch One Piece, or people who don't read comic books, but they read One Piece. It's surpassed its basic niche to become a literal phenomenon, but it causes a problem. For example, there's this funny thing that happens whenever one of our videos pops off. At first, the comments and like ratio are awesome, 99% upvotes. People are encouraging and nice and share awesome stories and anecdotes. But then people who don't know the channel start seeing the video, and no matter how fair, unbiased, and ultra-based I am, they, no cap, seem to think I'm some kind of far-left Antifa cuck. It's weird. But that's what happens when something becomes popular. The wider the audience, the wider the diversity in worldviews and experiences there are. So naturally, as someone who reads books and does daily analysis of domestic and international politics does, Hassan starts talking about the themes of One Piece, and I'll let that play in a second. But for the uninitiated, One Piece is a series about pirates. You know, people who live outside of the law. Outlaws, you might call them if you're cheeky. So, if our heroes are outlaws, because I'm cheeky like that, then from their perspective, the villains must be the government? The police? The military? But that sounds political. And that doesn't even take into consideration other villains in the series, like other pirate crews who take over entire countries, which our outlaw heroes then liberate because the government has struck a deal with those pirates and made them warlords, which is... That's all too confusing. Let's just see what this leftist extremist has to say about it.
Yeah, people love One Piece. And are obsessed with everything.
Which is a very political anime, Connor.
It's okay. Well,
what aspect?
Oh my god! Every single arc quite literally details like leftist politics, which I think Oda is. Oda is 100%. Oda is 100% a leftist. First of all. He has a Che Guevara photo in his studio.
Let him cook.
So,
let him cook.
Alabaster, right?
Yeah.
Which is definitely political, but like not as aggressively. But it's about like resource deprivation, things like that. But then Skypiea, which again maybe a little bit too long as an arc, is quite literally about like, you know, indigenous populations being removed from their land and like violently trying to you know, find autonomy and emancipation through, you know, through violent means directly against like an enemy that is much more powerful than them. That is like, you know, that's like a land back movement, which is inherently very political, very leftist.
I feel like I watched a different. I read a different.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to describe this to him. He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's
I was
about
like, man, I saw funny gum man.
Yeah, first of all, Luffy is a terrorist. I mean, he is. I mean, he literally is. He is a freedom fighter in the most like honorable sense of the word. He is quite literally fighting against an unjustifiable, corrupt military apparatus that is like holding the entire world hostage, the world government and the Navy. He's literally killing cops.
I think he might be right. I think One Piece might be political. Inherently political even. Maybe so political you'd have to be an absolutely mind-melted moron not to see it. One Piece is in fact so political the Straw Hat's Jolly Roger has been adopted as a symbol for youth revolts in multiple countries. I'm going to quote from The Guardian here. In Indonesia, it was hung outside homes, on motorbikes, cars, and trucks in a sign of discontent with the government that boiled over into deadly protests railing against lavish perks enjoyed by politicians. In Nepal, it was draped on the golden gates of the palace that houses parliament as young people toppled their their government. In the Philippines, it was raised at rallies by protesters furious at alleged government corruption. The flag, showing a cartoon skull wearing a straw hat, taken from the hugely popular Japanese anime One Piece, has become a symbol of defiance and hope. It's also being used in Madagascar and right here in America. And the thing is, Hassan is just laying out the bare minimum here off the top of his head. Meanwhile, the internet's most famous and beloved weebs are not only sitting, guffawing like a bunch of fucking morons, but look at this. I could just see Joey sweating dollars. He's so uncomfortable because of a base level literary analysis of fucking One Piece. Let me explain things very clearly for those in the back. Anime and manga are part of a counterculture, not just globally, but specifically in Japan. Japan is a country with a rigid social structure based on hierarchy above anything else. Its work-life balance is fucked, and anyone who doesn't fit the mold gets ostracized. Things have changed there a little, but mangaka and anime nerds have been looked down on by the majority since the medium came about. It's an impractical financial and social risk to chase the dream of making a hit manga, so the people who do it are fucking weird. They understand oppression and repression. They have a different view on society than the little worker bees do, so they put it in their art. It's how they express that dissatisfaction with the generally corrupt status quo. This is how counterculture works. It's why it's called counterculture. It is counter to the accepted culture. And the illiterate babies crying about people analyzing the primarily leftist sentiments in anime is just a start, because they're bitching about punk and metal music too. They want to keep politics out of punk and metal, the genres that brought us early hits like Nazi Punks Fuck Off and War Pigs. What it seems like is that people want the branding. They want to be a punk or a metalhead or a weeb on the outside, to set up a brand, an image for themselves they can sell on TikTok or whatever. But they don't want the smoke for or don't agree with the largely leftist ideologies these works are predicated upon. AKA, these people are stupid and shallow posers trying to cash in on you. That isn't to say there aren't bad faith far-right individuals who make manga, punk music, or metal. There's plenty. Kind of. Because if you're making nationalist punk music, it's not really punk. It sounds similar, but it's lacking the fundamental spirit of liberation and rebellion that these genres were based on. It's not rebellious in any way or cool to be far right, because being far right is fundamentally conformist, whether it's through race, social structures, military states, or belief structures. And yes, I am being hard on the trash taste guys specifically here, but it's just a symptom of a larger issue. They have the ears of millions of people, and hey, I don't know, maybe they're as stupid as this pod made them seem, but I kinda doubt it. Both Australia and the UK are pretty politically cooked, and it's not like Japan is faring any better right now. And let's be fair, these guys aren't obligated to take a stance, but playing dumb or being dumb isn't just cringe, it's embarrassing to the collective intelligence of their audience. Or it should be. I don't know. Tribalism is crazy. And I do personally think that it's the responsibility of people with a voice to educate themselves and use that voice for good and progress, but that is an opinion, you see, not an authoritarian mandate. I can't nor would control other people. But the fact of the matter is that not only is most anime political, or at least messaging against the very evils we are witnessing at home and abroad, but the heroes of said anime are literal anti-fascists. Dragon Ball, One Piece, Fullmetal, Utena, Akame ga Kill, Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, Hellsing is literally about killing Nazis. God damn it, there is even a worker strike in Little Witch Academia, and there's a million more. Put them in the comments. It's unavoidable. Weebs, punks, and metalheads were raised to be anti-fascist because the content is inherently political and majority leftist. Because the people who made it are either marginalized or sympathetic to the marginalized. And let me be clear, I'm not saying everything needs to be politicized. That's exhausting. You can talk about a million different aspects of anything, but that's the fun part about being able to analyze and think critically. However, to straight up deny that there are politics at play in art is dumb, and the people who do that are dumb. They should be embarrassed, feel a little shame, and grow from that experience. But if that's too difficult, there are people out there who will hold your hand and baby you through it. I'm just not that guy. I think you're a fucking moron, but it's okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to get humbled, and it's mature to own it. You should, and you should grow from it. I've been there personally a million times. I have been wrong, and I will likely be wrong again, but I'm not wrong about this. So I guess I need to wrap this up with an apology. I guess I'm not based like I promised I was I'm sorry that I lied to you. I'll work on it, but I appreciate you sticking with me, and hopefully I just might see you next time. So until then, go read a book or something. Better yet, read a banned book. Bye.